Finally, the greatest rivalry game in sports has come to CBS. It is the Cyhawk game between Iowa State and Iowa this Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. First time that Kinnick Stadium has hosted a CBS game since Iowa was #1 in the country and knocked off #2 Michigan back in 1985. Let's bring in a man who's familiar with Kinnick Stadium, though he hasn't been there for a couple of decades. Gary Danielson is going to be on the call with Brad Nessler and Jenny Dell. And look, I mean, being an Iowa guy, this is my Super Bowl. You've done the Iron Bowl. You've done Army-Navy. You've done Michigan-Ohio State. How you feeling about doing the Cyhawk game this week?
Oh, I'm psyched. And it's all fitting together, Chris, because of two really, competitive good teams that have, this is just not a game for a trophy, although it is. I get that part of it. But both of these teams have, their sights set on better things for the season. And this would be an important win. Chris, I've been lucky to do games of consequences for, years and years and years, and, as fans, like if you're from that state, this game means everything. But in the picture of college football, they would go, yeah, that's cute. But, what does it mean? Well, now it means something. With these 12-team playoffs, Iowa State, the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes, they want to beat each other, but they both want to make that field to get into the playoff, and both have a legitimate shot.
And Iowa fans are stoked after week one. I can't help but think of the last time you saw Iowa firsthand, which I believe was the Penn State game last year when Iowa didn't even get 100 yards of total offense. I'm sorry you had to see that. But it seems as though Cade McNamara, who didn't play for the rest of the season after that and was banged up going into that game, it seems like he's found something in that first game. The offense put up 40 points. Is that something that you see as sustainable? Not necessarily 40 points a game, but the way this offense looked. Is this a respectable offense this season?
So after I watched the first half, I had my doubts. I was like, uh-oh, this looks very familiar, But yes, they were much more efficient. They had a little flair to their calling the games. Now, I know it wasn't top-of-the-line talent, but, my guy Brock Spack, the Purdue guy, has always done well with defense, and he does a good job with it. And, I do think it did. I had a different feel, and it felt like Cade McNamara finally kind of let go of his injuries and all the stuff and worrying about, how do I place the ball and my footwork. It looks like he just played quarterback. So, yes, it did have a different feel to it. And I think, remember when they have the drive for 325 last year? I think that's the least they'll do this year. I really feel this is a team that's going to score in the 20s, 27 points. They're capable of doing that if they stay healthy. They've got a more veteran offensive line. If they can keep Lachey healthy at tight end, the receiver group has more talent. They're just a deeper football team than they were a year ago.
And new offensive coordinator Tim Lester off to a good start. We know Iowa State has a good offense, but they have lost 8 of 10 in this series. And for as great as Matt Campbell has been for that program, he's the best coach in Iowa State history already in year 9. The one thing he hasn't really been able to do is beat Iowa. 1-6 overall against the Hawkeyes. What do you think he needs to lean on in this game to pull off this win?
I think it's their quarterback. Rocky Beck is a really good player. He's, I hate to say he's like Brock Purdy. He is in size, but he's more flamboyant with the football, and they're very skilled at the wide receiver. Their specialists are really skilled. Their wide receivers, their running backs catch the ball. Their tight end duo of Bramer and Burkle and Klotz, number 49, are really good. Right there, you see Sama. That leap was a beautiful play. This is a team that can score points and give you problems because they trust their quarterback, and they know from playing against Iowa a lot, you're just banging your head against a wall to try to play smash mouth against them. You have to open it up a bit, and you have to force Iowa to play in more space than they're comfortable.
Yeah, that's kind of been the hot topic for Iowa State fans this week, is saying that they want to see Rocco Beck throw it 40-plus times. Do you think that that's the recipe for success?
I would put it a different way. I'd like to see him throw at least, 16 to 22 times in the first half to make sure this opens up. I think it may be a little, I hate to go all the way down and show my age. It may go back down if Iowa State played a perfect game. Could they do the old Steve Spurrier formula back in those days with the Gators, where he would throw a lot early and then he would rush the ball late a lot when they had the lead? And I don't see how Iowa State can get into the lead if they don't throw it early in the game and then go from there in the second half.
Really looking forward to that one Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, the big CBS slot with Iowa taking on Iowa State. One of the other marquee games of the weekend is at noon Eastern time, and a lot of people around the country are interested to see what Michigan does against top-level competition here this season, because they didn't look great against Fresno last week offensively. They've got Texas, and they're an underdog at home, are the defending champions. Are you worried that that Michigan offense just doesn't have what it takes to beat the best this season?
I'm sure, yes. I'm sure everyone is, but I really don't underestimate the pride and the work and the program of Michigan. I mean, those guys who went all in last year, and they lost 13 or 14 NFL players. That's tough to replace all of those players. And plus, on top of that, a #1 draft pick at quarterback. The only one at Michigan besides Jim Harbaugh was J.J. McCarthy. So that is not easy to do. But don't underestimate this Michigan's defense. Two of the prime defensive tackles in college football play for Michigan. Their edge rushers are the same. Their linebacker is going to get, Burnham is going to go in the first round. And their corner is going to be a first-round pick. This could be a slug-it-out game playing in Michigan. I look forward to it, but this is kind of the beauty of college football. This game is not a conference game, but it means so much more now because you need this data point at the end of the year. If you don't win your conference championship, this game will mean a lot.
Yeah, Michigan looked at as one of those fringe teams that might need an at-large to get into the college football playoff this season. Gary Danielson looking ahead to this weekend's big games, one of them on CBS. It's the Cyhawk game, 3:30 Eastern time. And we talked that the big Michigan-Texas game. Well, Gary's going to be at another big Michigan game in a couple of weeks. They host USC on Saturday, September the 21st, also on CBS.